we are going to attempt to fix this with simple tools, no scan tools, no wiring diagrams, no nothing. Very basic old school checks. See if I can do it. Hello and welcome to another Budget and Leggit video with a 2005 Nissan, Renault, Opel. They're all the same. Nissan Prima Star, Renault, Traffic, you know, the usual. This is the 1.9 and he's having troubles with it starting. Now he took it to another garage. All I've done is I've just loosened this and I've just taken off the heater plug wires. And there was new heater plugs put into it, and the other garage said the heater plugs were bad. And the customers told me it hasn't changed absolutely anything. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my jump leads from my van, which has got the Anderson connection on because there's no power connection here. So what I'm going to do is, it's handy because I put this on the battery and then I've got a power and an earth. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put this to the power and I'm just going to touch the top of the plugs. And there you go. Lights up. That plug is good. Do the same with this one. Again, that plug is good. Go down here. Make sure you don't touch any of the pipes, give you a false reading. That one's good as well. And number one is all good. Right, so very quickly, very basic. We know them heater plugs are good, but then they should be good because they are practically brand new. So what I want to check next is, do we have power going to the heater plug wires? So again, what I'm going to do, shove my test lead in, put it to earth this time. It's really handy having these Anderson connections here because, like I said, I've got a power and an earth. And what I'm going to do is quickly turn, run back. No power whatsoever. Off camera I'll just quickly check the other ones and see if we've got power going to any of them. Now the fact that we've got no power going to one doesn't mean we just could have one broken wire, because these are all separate, but I'm going to check them all off camera. Right, no power going to any of them. The customer has also told me that when he turns it on, the heater plug light only goes on for like half a second and switches off. It doesn't stay on for a long time. Which means essentially, you know, it gives you a good indication that there's an issue with the wiring or the heater plugs. I mean both, but there's an issue somewhere because it should stay on for a few seconds. So we can just quickly double check that, and let me just put all them back together and just quickly double check that. Right, so yeah, I mean the heater plug light goes off instantly and it's not warm, as you can see. It's been here, the engine is cold, but the heater plug light just goes out way too quickly. So that kind of gives you an indication. Right, there is a chance if I plug a scan tool into it, we might get an error code. But I'm just trying to do this. I might not be able to, but I'm trying to do this if, you know, if people just haven't got scan tools and haven't got access to wiring diagrams. There is a few very simple checks you can do. Don't get me wrong, scan tools, wiring diagrams, yes, they certainly do help. They make your life a lot easier. I could literally do this in a quarter of the time, but I just want to show you it's possible. Now, in this case it might not be possible, but I have done videos before showing you how it's possible. And even if we do have to break out scan tools and wiring diagrams, we've done some checks and we can eliminate certain things. Like we know now for a fact that the heater plugs are good, and we know we're getting no power. Could be a few things. Could be our control unit here. You know, it could be fuses, it could be broken wires, it could be all sorts. Right, so another thing I want to check, again, I've got no wiring diagram, so I don't know. This is just a guess. We can see we've got a couple of white wires. We've got a couple of white wires and like a brownie ready wire. It could just be dyed. And we know we've got a brownie ready wire here and a few white wires. So even if you don't know what this unit is, you can what you can do if you want to make 100% sure that we got the right one, we can do a continuity test between these wires. Let me just get a multimeter out and I'll do that just so we know we're on the right one. Now I know we are, but if you want to just check on your own, you're not 100% sure, this is a way of doing it. Right, what this test is going to do is going to do a couple of things. One, well, it's going to actually do three things. One, it's going to properly make sure that I've got the right wires going to our heater plugs. Two, it's going to tell us if we got a broken wire, because we're going to do a continuity test. Sorry, we're going to do an ohms test, not a continuity test. Continuity tests do not do waste of time. So we've got 4 separate wires going to our heater plugs. The chances are that all 4 separate wires are broke is very, very, very slim, but not impossible. So I'm going to check them all. All I'm going to do is go on the brown wire first, which is that one there, I believe. Just shove my multimeter in. I really do need a back probe for this, but for the time being this will be good enough. Let me just get this set up, I can't do it one-handedly, and then we'll see. Right, I just got it rested in there, and I just got it rested in there, and as we can see, we've got a reading. Now, it's good reading too. Ohms test is a lot better than a continuity test. A continuity test will beep, but you could have one wire still in the strand of, say, 15 wires, 20 wires, whatever, and you'll still get a beep on the continuity. So that's why you don't do it. But again, if you're still unsure, you want to just trace the wires, you can trace the wires with continuity test, but don't go off the continuity test. So we now know 100% that this is our control unit for our heater plugs. Very, very simple, very, very quick. What I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to do all them off camera, just check them all to make sure they're all okay, and then I'll turn the camera back on. Right, so I've done all that, and all the wires test good. So we now know the heater plugs are good. We're getting no power to the heater plugs. We also now know that them 4 wires go to this plug here, and they're all testing good. So I now need to test the power going into this. And again, I've got no wiring diagram. This is just a guess, but it's kind of a good guess because you can see just how thick that power wire, I'm assuming it's a power wire, coming into it. So I need to check that for power now. And I'm just going to do it with my minus there. So I'm just going to check it with my test light, and hold on, I need to put the ignition on, because again, let's think of it logically. This needs to power this to kick out the power to the heat plugs. If this isn't getting power, then, well, it's never going to work. If it's getting power, there's a good chance that this unit is gone, but again, we won't know until we actually check it. So let me just quickly put all this in and check it. Right, let's turn the ignition on, quickly go around here. No power at all. Right, so what do we know now? We know our heater plugs are good. We know our wiring to our plugs to our socket is good. And we now know we're getting no power to our socket. So that could be broken wire, could be a fuse. So the next thing I'm going to do is check all the fuses. And again, I'm just going to quickly do it nice and easy. And I'm going to do it with this, my test light. And all I'm going to do, well, let's go inside first. Again, I don't know where the fuses are, in the sense of I don't know which fuse does which. I'm getting no wiring down. I'm just going to test them all. Yes, it's going to take a few more minutes, but again, you haven't got access to any of this. So let's just test them all. With it being a heater plug circuit, we are kind of looking at a fairly beefy fuse. So if it's got a 5 amp fuse or a 10 amp fuse, you can be pretty much certain that's not going to be the case. You know, I'm guessing maybe 50, 60, 70 amp fuse, again depending on the car, depending on your system. I know where the first fuse box is in this is on the passenger side, so let's just go there and see what we've got. Right, so I've taken off this side panel and we can see some fuses here. Now looking at these fuses, I really don't think it's going to be any of them, but you don't know. We have our little map here to tell us what fuses do what. Now again, just because it says like horn and lights and stuff, sometimes they do more, so don't always go off that. Few ways we can check this. With this being an older vehicle, we can turn the ignition off and pull each fuse out at a time. If it's a modern vehicle, you do not really want to do that because you can lose all sorts of codes, radio codes, and you can just cause yourself a lot of grief. So you can just put this on earth of the battery, and we can just plug this into the little metal ends here, and we can see if they light up. Now, again, what we have to be careful of, I haven't looked at the wiring diagram, and I don't know if this particular circuit, because it's a heater plug, will switch itself on and off. So if we leave the ignition on and there's a timer on it, then we could be testing these, and by the time we get to the fuse we need to get to, the timer could be off. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm not going to bore it on camera, is I'm going to take each one of these fuses out individually and check them. But like I said, I really don't think it's going to be any of these fuses. They're just not strong enough for the circuit we have. But again, you just don't know. Right, I've checked all them and they're all absolutely fine. And I know there is another fuse box somewhere inside the engine. I can't remember off the top of my head. But again, it shouldn't be too hard to find. All right, just having a quick look, and I did manage to find it. I think it's underneath here. There is a box, and it looks kind of fusey related. There's some wires going into it. I have to take the expansion bottle out first, 10 mil, and I should get that out of the way. So, right, this should just come out, get out of my way, and hopefully, this looks more like it now. Now, we can see some beefy fuses in there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 60 amps and the 70 amps. So it is going to be one of them. And again, the ignition is off. And what I can do is just pull these out. You can see that 60 amp is fine. Oh, I've just seen something. I've just seen something. Now let me turn the light on the camera. Can you see that? There is the light making it harder. Let me see if I can just take this cover off. Sometimes you can't. And of course, I can't. You just see. Maybe I'm seeing things. Now can you see? Look at that, melted. Absolutely melted. Now, why did it blow? This is what we have to be careful of now. Did it blow because of someone's done something? Or because the heater plugs are old and it's just, you know, earthed itself out? We don't know. We have to be careful because these fuses are not like easy to get, in the sense of, I don't have any of these. But I know the customer at the back, he does have a spare van, so we can actually take some parts out of there. Is that the heater plug fuse? I do not know. There is no mention on the back of the case. All I know is that fuse is gone, but I don't know what it's for, because like I said, I've got no wiring diagrams, no books. Now you might have a book for your vehicle which will tell you what the fuses do, but I don't for this one, and I don't know. So what I'm going to do is we're going to replace that fuse and we're going to see. I'm going to disconnect this first. I don't, because this could be blown inside. So, and I'm going to leave the heater plugs disconnected. Now the fact that we've got good wiring from here to the heater plugs is a good sign. So we know none of the heater plugs are earthing itself out. But this unit here could be damaged, or like I said, it could have been the original heater plugs that were damaged causing this. Or it could even be the power wire going to this that could be damaged. So yeah, let me just check it first. Now I do have a special machine to go in there to tell me the amps, and I've shown another video, but people, you're not going to have that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a fuse. I'm going to get a 60 amp fuse, because you can see there's loads of them, and put it in there first and see what happens. I normally wouldn't do that. Worst case scenario, it blows the fuse. But again, if you're doing this at home with very simple basic tools, this is the way you're going to be doing it. So we're going to do that first and see exactly what happens. Right, so I'm just going to replace it with the 60 amp fuse, which will blow quicker, but I'm not worried about that. You can see just that's completely blown. So let's first put this in, see if it blows straight away, which it doesn't, which is a good sign. So now I'm going to turn the ignition on, but like I said, I'm going to leave this off. I'm going to leave the heater plugs off, and then we're going to see. But before I do that, I want to put my test light back there to see if we get power. Right people, look, we've got power. The ignition is off. I just put it on there just to see. I've got the test light on the my Anderson connection, which is going to the battery, which is on the earth. And I've just put this on here, and as you can see, it's lit up, and that's with the ignition off. So that's a great sign. We now know that fuse was for the heat plugs, but what we don't know is, do we still have an issue with this unit? Now what I'm going to do is, again, because this is the way you'd be normally doing it, If I put my special machine on there to tell me the amps going through that circuit, I would know if it's safe or not to do this. That unit here could be fucked essentially, and it could blow our fuse, but it's only going to blow our 60 amp fuse, and I've got a few of them. I've only got one 70 amp fuse, so I don't want to blow that. Then we're going to have to start doing other checks, but the fact that that lights up tells me that the wiring from here to the fuse is good, and from the plug to our heater plugs are good. The only thing we do not know is that unit, and I'm just going to simply plug it in. We'll do it on camera, see if it blows up, because then it goes viral if it blows up and goes on fire. It's a bit awkward. Come on. Now, didn't blow up. So what I'm going to do now is put this on here, turn my ignition on, and see, we've still got it on the earth, see if this light comes on. Ooh, quick. Boom! There we go. Our lights have come on. Lovely. Right, we could still have an issue. All I've done is plug the heater plugs back in. We've still got a 60 amp fuse in there, and we've got the control box plugged back in, but that's all I've done. So I'm going to go back to the car now. We're going to see if the heater plug light stays on any longer. No, it doesn't. But it's not particularly, it's like, I think it's like 10 degrees. Let me see how hot it is outside first. Right, it's 11 degrees outside. Now I've just left the ignition on, and I checked the light stayed on for about 8 seconds or so. The actual light on the heater plug light stayed on, so the heater plugs are heating up, but the light here is going off. So I'm just going to leave it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. I'm just going to ask the customer now. That started really quickly. I'm just going to ask the customer, is that any better? Right, just speaking to the customer, and he said it's a million times better. The actual heater plug light doesn't stay on, but the power going to the heater plug lasts 11 seconds. So million times better. Right, I put the 70 amp fuse in, which is the one that's supposed to be in there. Just put this back down. And put this back on, and then we can button all this up. Just screw that down, and we're good to go. Look at the painting on the back of this. Isn't that awesome? Right, so let's see. It does go off very quickly, but that's perfect. There is nothing wrong with that starting now. Absolutely perfect. Good stuff. You think you've done with the job. This nearly went on fire. I was just putting all this back because I had all this off when I was doing obviously the heater plugs, or testing the heater plugs. This bracket here is loose. I had to cable tie it because it's not tightening up on the bolt. And all of a sudden, I don't know what's happened, but this was touching this. I don't know if it's earth out. But anyway, this started glowing and it started melting and actually kind of went on fire. See it there. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on this. Was this the original issue that caused that fuse to blow? Are these part of the same circuit? I doubt it, but I don't know. Yeah, that was that's kind of scary. Shame I didn't get it on camera. Right, I've completely disconnected them. Going to need new plugs for there. They're just completely gone. All this system seems fine though. It all looks good as regards that, which is obviously a good thing. Right, the last thing I want to check is, now it's kind of heated up. It's not fully heated up, but it's certainly heated up enough for me to do this next test. I want to see how long it takes to start now. Does it take the same amount of time it did when it was cold? That would be a really good thing to know. Yes, exactly the same. Boom. Sorted. Right people, it's taken the same amount of time to start when it's completely cold and when it's warm, so I'm happy enough with that. We've got to do the horn next because the horn isn't working on this. as you can see, but that's for another video. But that's done, and I've told him to get new heater plugs for the other one as well, because obviously that's a bit dodgy, and we're gonna have to get a new bracket and completely tie that back properly. But again, I've done it for this video, so that's it. As always, hope you like it. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most important, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted. Right, it's the next day. I'm just here now doing the horn, because the horn doesn't work on this, but the customer told me this morning it started absolutely perfect. The light's still going off really quickly, which is weird, but it started in like 1.5 seconds. There you go, rather than like 5 or 6 seconds. So we've got that sorted, and so that's done, which is good. And now we got to work out why the horn isn't working, and again, that's going to be for another video.